What up, guys? Happy Sunday. If you're not watching this on Sunday, happy whatever day it is. Today we're going to show you how to wrap the hood on the brand new Camaro. So you may be asking yourself, why are you doing this video again? Because we've done them in the past. The thing is, we're going to get better and better with learning how to teach you guys, and also every day our skills improve on how we do things. So I'd like to update you guys and just kind of show you where we're at now. One of the biggest things that I'm going to talk about in this as we get into it is the material. There are a lot of options and places you can get materials. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. The biggest red flag, as always, is usually price. And the reason why I want to talk about this is I hate for you to watch this video, go buy a cheaper roll of material, and not be able to do what I'm doing. Because of the technologies that are in the films nowadays, the top quality brands, they have certain things and abilities that you're able to do with their films as opposed to the cheaper Amazon, eBay films. So it's very, very important that you grab the right material. Today, what we're going to use is the Avery Dennison Supreme Wrap Film. Satin black is what we're going to be doing on this project. With that said, I did mention it's Avery Dennison. If you're familiar with the brand, it's one of the top two in my opinion. There are others, but 3M and Avery to me is typically what I like to stick to. Just my preference, but it's because they do have all the technology built into it that I believe is going to help you get the best quality result. So let's start from the basics, the tools that we're going to need. First things first, you want to make sure that you get the hood clean. And when I say clean, I don't mean waxed or freshly waxed, because a lot of people do that. They'll say, I'm going to wrap my hood, I'm going to wax it, clean it up, because that's the first thing you think. No, you definitely do not want to do that. The adhesive side cannot be exposed to any types of grease or waxes. So the way we do that is we start off by clay barring the surface, which we'll get into in a minute. I'll show you how that's done. But we're going to clay bar the surface. From there, we're going to strip it a little further using a mixture of alcohol and water solution. So I have a 70% alcohol solution mixed with water, diluted about 50%. So I know a lot of detailers out there are not going to like the idea of putting alcohol on your hood, and I understand that. It's a different world. When it comes to vinyl, we have to clean that surface. We have to prep it 110%, remove all contaminants, and get rid of any grease or debris. So that's what's going to do it for us. So that's part of the cleaning process. I'll show you guys that as well. As far as the tools go, the things that you're going to need is you're going to need the felt edge squeegee, super important. So with the felt edge, it makes sure that you don't scratch the material as you're installing the film. The correct blade is super important as well. Get the wrong blade, not sharp enough, you end up with jagged edges. So we don't want that. Just do yourself a favor, get the right blade. Everything that I'm mentioning is available on the website, so you can get this directly at premiumautostyling.com. You're going to want to start with the rag, maybe get a couple of these. I got a tape measure, some scotch tape. And this is not required, but we use them here in the shop all the time. If you're familiar with our channel, you see that we use the wrap gloves all the time. Super important, kind of helps you with just mold to get things to the edges. Personal preference for me. And the last thing is tack cloth. People ask about this all the time. Why do we use tack cloth? It is a painter's trade that we kind of took it into the wrap world. This is our last and final step. After we get the whole surface prepped, clay barred, cleaned up, degreased, all that good stuff, you want to go over a final pass with this. What that's going to do is going to get rid of anything that may have came off the microfiber, any dust in the air. You're going to want to do that right before you install the film. So seconds before, use this. It'll do that final prep. It'll get nice and clean, and you'll have a debris-free surface. And that's super important. I guess all I can really push to you guys, the main things is start with the right materials, follow these steps, have a clean surface to work with, and it should be quick and painless. A lot of people are intimidated by wrapping roofs and hoods. And I think the reason why that happens so often is the wrong films are used. If you use the right films with the air release technology, it's pretty much a breeze. It's a walk in the park, and I'm going to show you exactly why and how and why I think that, because it really is. It's a very easy, simple, straightforward project. One of my recommendations is make sure you have a friend, one or two, that'll definitely help out. So grab yourself a friend and let's get into it. So step one, like I mentioned earlier, the most important, making sure that the surface is prepped properly. Any panel that you're wrapping, whether it be a roof, a hood, a trunk, a quarter panel, anything, you need to make sure that's clean. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start off by clay barring the surface. I got the clay bar here. We're using our magic blue clay bar as well as a detail lubricant. This is actually a clay bar lubricant. What it's gonna do is gonna help lubricate the surface as we go over it with the clay bar. If this is done improperly, you can actually damage your paint. So make sure you're well educated with how to use a clay bar. It's really not hard, but I would suggest going back if it's your first time, watch some videos on YouTube, go to some of the detail pages. They will tell you how to do this, and maybe even better than I can. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna start off, the way I like to work when I'm clay barring a surface, especially a hood panel, I like to go in and kind of do it like square foot by square foot. So I'll work this area first, and I'll work the next, just making sure that we thoroughly get everything done. So what I did is I just lubricated the area that we're gonna be working. And using the clay bar, I'm just passing over, making sure that you get everything off the hood. You can actually feel when you have contaminants in the surface, and you'll feel the clay bar getting rid of that. But like I said, very important to keep it lubricated. when you're clay barring, you want to make sure you're just doing straight passes, overlapping passes. Don't do circles. It's nice and straight. All I'm doing now is getting rid of the lubricant that's left over. I'm going to run my hand over the surface, make sure it's clean. Once we get to that point, once it's all cleaned off, I'm going to go ahead and use the alcohol solution to clean off any of the wax that may have been left on, even from the lubricant. I know it does provide a little bit of a wax to it, so we need to get rid of that, and that's where the alcohol is going to come in. The last step of the cleaning process after we've done the clay bar is just to go over it with alcohol and do a final wipe. You also want to pop the hood, and you want to get the whole edge cleaned out all the way around. Do that now. The reason why cleaning this area is so important is this is going to be where your vinyl is going to have its final stick right at the edge. So the edge is very, very important to make sure that it adheres properly. So making sure that all the oils, debris, everything's off of this. You got to understand this is the closed part of the hood. Your hands do touch here a lot. There's dirt kicking up, so make sure this is nice and clean. Okay, so I think it's very important to mention why this car looks the way it looks. We're doing a complete wrap on it, so the whole car is going to be getting wrapped. That's why the front bumper is removed. That's why, if you noticed earlier, I had the vents off already. I did put one back in place because I want to just narrate this. I want you guys to know these vents need to come out. If you have a car that has a hood vent on it or any type of scoop, make sure you remove any necessary hardware. So if you can, make sure you remove it. So in this case, we did have hood vents. We're going to take those off. What that's going to do is going to allow us to get the wrap all the way down below, so when these hood vents go back on, it looks nice and clean. The reason why we're removing hardware is you don't want to damage any other pieces around it. So you don't want to have to be trimming around it. It'll also make it very difficult to get it tucked under. So rule of thumb, remove the hardware when possible. Next thing I'm going to do is actually use the scotch tape. This is something that's for the DIYers at home. You want to make sure that you eliminate any errors. So making sure that you're not scratching any panels that are close to the area that you're going to be wrapping. In this case, you're going to get close with your blade to the fenders. So using the scotch tape to actually cover up the fenders is a good idea. So I'm going to get to laying the tape. We've laid the tape on the side. The next step is to actually measure the panel. Every car is going to be different. If you go to our website, the average piece of material that you're going to use on a hood is probably going to be about 60 by 60. 60 by 68 is also common. So with that said, just drill down. You'll find your size. Easily pick and choose what you need. In this case, I believe the hood is about 65 inches. If I'm correct, 65 inches, I would use about 68 worth of material. You want to have extra 1 or 2 inches of play. So let's measure. Let's find out how big this hood is. Alright, so the length of this hood is actually 64 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the 68 inches worth of material and we'll get to laying. Alright, we're getting ready to lay the material. Like I said before, the tack cloth is the last step that we're going to do. So we're just going to go over the surface. It is a very sticky product, so put your glove on. But I'm just going to go over the surface lightly, pull up any dust, debris that's left over, and we'll get to laying the material. This is the step where an extra hand is going to come in handy. So Johnny here is going to help me lay this panel. Alright, so we're unrolling the material, and we're going to remove all of the backing paper and get to laying. We're laying the material out now, and if you see how we're doing it, we're just evenly taking the material. I have a little bit over on my side, he has a little bit on his. From here, what we're going to do is just blast the material, and basically we're just making it smooth as we can without applying any pressure with the squeegee yet. just a couple seconds in, and you know that you notice that we glassed the material. So if you look at it, it almost looks like it's already done without even starting. So what that is the material's glassed, and at this point we're gonna start laying it with the squeegee. We're gonna start from the center, we'll create a hinge point, and we'll work our way out. So I just laid the hinge. So right down the center, if you notice from here all the way up, it's been laid. I applied a moderate pressure, not too heavy. You'll know when you're getting into the material if you're pushing too hard or not. It's just a very, very light push. You'll feel the air traveling out to the edge of the material. And that's where the benefits of using a quality product is gonna actually come in handy. You're gonna see that as you lay the material with the squeegee, the air is just kind of gliding out towards the edges. And that's what we're gonna do all the way through. So right now, I laid material coming this way, also up, and now we're just gonna bring it out this way, right to the edges. Things like this, when you're DIY installing at home and you get something like this, it can get scary, but it's really not. You have the availability to pick up the material just like that, just work the material back out to the edge. Say that were to happen somewhere here, it gets a little more difficult, but you're just utilizing the same technology and the material to do those things over here. If I have one, I'll let you know. But the idea is to make it just very easy. Push the material towards the edges, and you should be fine. Now we're just working the air from the center out towards the edge. You guys remember there's a hood vent on this hood. So what I'm gonna do is I got up to the first part of the line, but from here I wanna outline the rest of it, and this is just gonna help you with the install process. So check it out, watch how I do this. Basically I'll take the route club, follow the lip of the hood vent. What you want to do is you want to close that off. So now your hood vent's done. I can work all this down and all this out. So basically from here moving forward, I'm going to work here, here, and this will come up. So basically at this point what I want to emphasize is I've laid everything on the hood so far except this area here. And it may be intimidating to some people when you actually see the amount of air that's left, but you have so many different directions to go. Basically, I can pull material down this or pull air down this way, here, and here. It's not really that hard, but you know, like I said, I know it can be intimidating for people that are doing this for the first time. So just kind of watch me as I go through it. And if you guys have any questions, please comment below. I'll always do my best to answer. Very, very straightforward though. I'm literally just guiding all of the air from the center, and you're working it to an edge. Overlapping strokes is kind of what it is, so every time I go over, it's an overlapping stroke. One thing that I see a lot of when people are doing the hoods is right at the edge, what happens is people like to pull on the material and stretch it down like that. That's not what you want to do. Really what the idea here is that you're just going to allow the material to sit in place. So if you notice right now, I'm just using my finger to really push it down and let it fall into place. And that's what you want to do. That's what you want to do all the way around. At this point, the whole hood's been laid, wrapped all the way through. So we're gonna get to trimming. One of the things you're going to do first is just get rid of all the excess material. Obviously, you don't need all this material here, so I'm gonna cut it off. I'm gonna have about 2 inches left all the way up front. And then going back over here, I did lay the tape earlier. And what that's for is for you to guide your blade, not on the paint, but you're gonna use inside the hood and guide the blade right up against that fender. Now that you have the tape there, you don't have to worry about cutting the paint. But like I said, I gotta emphasize that you're not cutting on the paint. You're using it as a guide. Right now, I'm angling the blade towards the engine of the car, basically, away from the fender, not cutting on anything, just using the negative space in between the fender and the hood. So the idea right now is to get rid of all the excess material that we don't need. That'll just make it easier to work with, get the hood open, and do all the necessary tucking. Just got rid of all the excess material, so at this point I'm able to lift the hood open and start tucking around the edge. I'll try to get close up so you can see what that looks like. The last and final step is going to be to trim it all out, its final trim, which will be right up against the hood pinch weld mark. You're not going to be cutting necessarily on the paint. If you notice, if you lift your hood, you'll feel that the weld mark is almost like a plastic weld. I'm not sure what it is, but that's what we're going to use to cut up against. One of the main tools that I didn't mention earlier in the intro is the heat gun. Very, very important. You can choose to use a torch if you have a torch. If you're familiar with wrapping, you know that a torch is a little bit harder to work with. I recommend for DIY, grab a heat gun, very, very cheap. These are also available on the website. But nevertheless, we're gonna get into it. I'm gonna show you exactly what I'm doing here. So now that I got all the material cut out, you see it's not cut perfectly. I just did a general cut out, so it has about 2 inches of slack all the way around. I'm gonna start from the center, give it a little bit of heat, and allow the material to sit in place. I'm not gonna stretch it. You know, like I said, a lot of times when people heat the material, they wanna pull on it, they wanna stretch it, and ultimately what they end up doing is overstretching the vinyl. It'll look good for a day. As soon as it gets a little bit of engine heat on it, gets outside, that material pulls back, and it just looks like crap. So what we're gonna do here is not let that happen. Applying a little bit of heat, you'll notice that the material is gonna start to get pliable. It's gonna fall in place. I'm gonna push it down to my pinch weld. Just like everything that we've done so far, starting from the center is where we're gonna work. That's something we're always gonna do when we're doing vinyl, starting from the center. So I got that laid, and I will be working my way across this way. So the reason why we're applying heat here is to make sure that this gets very pliable and easy to work with, so you can lay it into that channel that we're trying to get to. You'll notice that the creases, everything goes away as you heat it up. If you don't know what the pinch weld is, this is where we're gonna be to the vinyl right directly up to it. We're gonna use that to cut up against. So every hood's gonna be a little different. They're not all gonna have the pinch weld in the same exact spot. They're not all gonna be the same. Some will be further back. So it's gonna be case by case. In most cases, exactly what you see on this Camaro is what you're gonna find on your vehicle. At this point, when we reach the corner, it's very important to make these corners look right. In this case, on this vehicle, they're very easy to work with because they're rounded corners. So all I'm gonna do is approaching it with a little bit of heat. And as it heats up, I'm just lightly pulling it around the corner. You wanna get it all the way around so you have a nice clean edge. Once that's all done, all we're gonna do is trim out the excess material and you have a nice clean edge there. Nice clean corner. All right, so this is where the blade comes in. Now that it's been laid all the way around, I'm gonna use that pinch weld to lightly score the material. I'm gonna lightly score the material with the blade. I'm not actually pushing or cutting. It's a very, very sharp blade. You don't need to put much pressure at all. You'll find your rhythm as you go along, but it's really about light pressure, scoring the material, and using that pinch weld as a guide. So because I scored the material, all I gotta do is kind of peel it back, and there you have it, a nice clean line. I have seen this, and I'll say this, I've seen a lot of people, other shops, they'll go way deep into here, and it just, to me, it just looks really bad. If you're not overstretching the material, it's not necessary to come all the way over here. To me, in my opinion, a nice clean edge like that is ideal. That's just my way. There are multiple ways of doing this. You can go all the way back and around. As long as you do it clean, that's all that I think we're all looking for, just a nice clean edge. Something to keep in mind is as you're doing the edges, you want to make sure you're doing the same consistent cuts all the way around. So following that pinch weld all the way around, laying it, tucking it to the same spot, and ultimately just giving it the same look. Visually, you want this hood to be open and you want it to look clean. So that's what we're doing all the way down from front to back, all the way to the back of the hood. All right, now that everything's trimmed out, before you lay the hood down, you want to use the heat gun, go over all the edges, make sure they're locked in place. You will notice this, if the vinyl is not set yet, it'll actually pull up on you. So you want to look out for all that. So just follow the edge with the heat gun and visually look at it, make sure nothing's pulling up. Now that we have all the trimming done, we can get rid of this tape. It's unnecessary at this point. We're just gonna take it off the car and be done with it. All right, so last and final step, we wanna get the hood vents cut out. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut a hole right in the center, and then I'm gonna allow the material to come back up and let the material set in the recessed area. So I don't wanna stretch into place, I just wanna let it sit, fall into place. Okay, and I'm gonna lift the material here. Just allow the material start from the corner. Just pick one of the corners, I'm gonna start here. Start setting the material into place. This is where the glove comes in handy because I'm just able to use my finger to push it down. You don't need any heat, not on this one because its bends are very like, they're not complex at all. So I'm just trying to get it down right into that recess. Don't want to overstretch it. You don't want to do this. You don't want to pull and push like that. Ultimately what's going to happen is you turn into a bubble there, just like it did there. So what I'm going to do is bring it back up, just set it down into place. Vents laid down in place, all I'm going to do is use the edge of the internals of the hood, I guess. Use that as a guide to trim all of the excess material out. I just want a nice clean lay with no overstretch. Okay, so to complete this off, all I got to do is go finish up the other vent, and we're good to go. Alright, so we're done. All I'm going to do here is, moving forward, just putting the vents in place, and you're going to see how cool it looks. Look at that. Alright guys, super simple. I hope it wasn't too boring. I really want to make sure that I'm thoroughly going over everything for you guys. So in these videos that we're releasing on Sundays, they're not vlogs. So I'm sure you guys noticed that. It's almost like school, but I'm trying to keep it entertaining. But more than anything, I want to educate you on how to properly do these things. And a lot of people are wrapping their hoods, a lot of people are wrapping the roofs, or their cars in general. All of these steps can be applied to a full vehicle wrap, a hood wrap, a roof wrap, etc. So one thing I didn't really show you guys too much of is I did detail it off with our detail spray. Worked out really well. If you guys want any of this product, if you're ordering a roof wrap, this may be something you want to consider adding to it. It's something that's going to help preserve the durability, the longevity of the wrap. You take all the time to do this, let's preserve it. It's working out really well for us. So I hope you guys are enjoying the Sunday uploads. Like I said, they're more like school. They're not our normal vlogs. We will be back to our regular scheduled vlogs on Monday. We'll see you guys next Sunday.